Hello, guys. I wanted to talk with you specifically about the statements that were made by Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, and arguably the most powerful leader in the European Union. I mean, she has quite a bit of control there, but the point is that she made some statements about the ban of Trump from platforms of Twitter and Facebook because of what happened in D.C. A couple weeks back. So Angela Merkel, through the help of her spokesman Stefan Seibert, said that the decisions about the freedom of opinion should be made by laws, not according to a decision by the management of a social media platform. And then also he said through Angela Merkel, from this angle, the Chancellor considers it problematic that the accounts of the U.S. President have now been permanently blocked. And with a little bit more context, she said something along the lines that, in German, of course, that this kind of moderation of free speech from a public official should be controlled by the government and democratically elected bodies rather than some millionaire or billionaire owner of a major tech company. So she seemed to have some serious problems with how Trump was banned from these platforms. Not to say that he deserves 100% free speech. I don't think that she sees with him. I think that she certainly doesn't see eye to eye with Trump. And they've got different agendas, and they're from different sides of the political spectrum. But what she does see is that what she does seem to believe is that if there is going to be censorship, it should come from a governing body, and that social media companies should have to abide by the laws that the government comes up with. So the government should be the ones who determine what is acceptable free speech and not. And I would agree with her that in a democracy, if you believe in free speech, it should be something that's decided. What is or isn't acceptable free speech should be decided by elected representatives, not a tech company executive. So and this all comes in the wake of Twitter and Facebook, various social media groups, basically all of them, have been under lawsuits relatively consistently with the EU. So the EU has already been passing and pushing for more laws against these tech companies than we have here in the United States. So and specifically what they have on the table right now is something called the Digital Services Act and the Digital Marketing Act, which goes more in that direction of the philosophy that that a tech company, that what is illegal or illegal free speech is up to the government, and the tech company can't censor or moderate somebody for legal speech. If your speech is legal, it's under the court of law of whatever country in the EU it is, and the government has to, and the tech company has to follow strict orders in that regard. The idea that that Twitter can only censor or ban people or content if that speech is and behavior is illegal. If it's illegal speech and illegal behavior, which is very in our country, that would be almost very little is unacceptable by the government standards. and what we have in our country, and what's seeming like it's spreading around the world, is this. Well, in our case, it's a capitalist ran system where you have these corporations who, instead of the government who is controlling free speech, you have corporate interests controlling more and more of public discourse. So they're making progress when it comes to that in the European Union, and it sounds like social media companies are that their days of this kind of activity, this kind of behavior, is going to is hopefully going to be slowing down. We'll see what happens, but it seems that this kind of controversy can't go on forever. And but anyway, so there you go. Angela Merkel, how I don't know as much about her politics and what she does as many people, but I will say, and I know that her and our president don't see eye to eye, and yet here she is, another head of state, another leader who sees a problem who sees a concern with the idea that not even just the idea, but the action of a social media giant, not even censoring a group of people or censoring a particular phrase by an individual, but censoring the President of the United States, the largest democracy in the world, and she's she's right about that. I don't agree that I don't think I agree that the president should be censored under almost any regards. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of an absolutist when it comes to the idea that he's the president. He should be able to say whatever he wants to say. There's not really such a thing as unacceptable speech from a president. What is unacceptable and what is acceptable and unacceptable is determined by the voters. That's what I believe. So in that regard, I think that even Angela Merkel would say, to a certain extent, the governing body, the state, has a right to censor the president to an extent. I don't even agree with that, but at least we're on the same page. At least she agrees with, at least I can agree with her that, in this case, that a tech giant censoring the president is wrong, or at least problematic. She didn't use particularly strong language, but it is interesting to see her perspective as she is in a controlling position in the EU, and yeah, I mean, it's important to see how these other heads of states react to this kind of thing, because this kind of thing is going to happen in other countries too. I mean, if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. So they're stepping up their game to try to pass these laws against the tech companies, and I don't blame them. And I hope that we follow suit and do similar things here, at least to the extent that we try to democratize the idea of what is and isn't acceptable free speech. Although from the president, I think it's almost nothing that is unacceptable. That's up to the voters to decide. All right, thank you for your time.